and welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel Fogelman. My guest this week is Mitchell Whitfield, the actor probably best known for portraying one of the Utes, Stanley Rothenstein, in My Cousin Vinny. I mean, it's one of the greatest movies of the last 30 years. It is absolutely fantastic, beautifully cast. We talk about that. We'll talk about the scene that broke Mitchell on TV. Let's just say the show would not have happened without this character, Rachel's ex-fiance Barry on Friends. And he also discusses one of the roles that he made it to the finals and almost got cast as this character. Let's just say his life would have been a lot different. He is a very successful voice actor as well, having roles on Transformers Robots in Disguise and the animated feature TMNT, voicing Donatello. He's had an amazing voice acting career as well. And we also talk about our love of Star Wars, our Star Wars toy collections. I mean, we're middle-aged men talking about toys. What's better than that? Really enjoyed my conversation with Mitchell, and I hope you do as well. So, Mitchell, thank you so much for joining me today on this Eclipse Day. So, were you able to watch it?
I wasn't. And then, my dad was on the phone. I was running around today. I didn't get a chance to see it, of course. And I didn't have the proper eyewear, even if I wanted to. So I was like, oh. And my father said, well, don't worry about it. The next one is in what, 2075? That's the next one that we're having. So yeah. God willing, he said, oh, I'll be 135. It'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, no problem. We'll see you for the next one.
Exactly. And you'll have plenty of time to get the proper glasses. So
there you go.
Be prepared. Yeah.
Another 51 years. I'm good.
Yeah. Exactly. We were just walking, and my youngest, who is 4, was like, I don't want to look at it. I want my hair to burn. I'm like, Tyler, your hair's not going to burn. such a little worrywart, but yeah.
The ocular follicle connection that we rarely talk about. Yeah.
I should have told him, it does burn. You see,
I was going to say, I must have been looking at the sun for years to have this thing happen, but there you go.
Exactly. Yeah. So in a span of like probably 72 hours in the East Coast, we had an earthquake and an eclipse. So
yeah. Pretty crazy.
Been crazy.
Yeah. Things are going bad in the world. Things are going badly. And the funny thing is, growing up in New York, I'm, native New Yorker.
Yep. Me too.
I still say that even though I've been in, California for 34 years now or so. The one thing we always said, is at least we don't get earthquakes.
Exactly.
We don't get earthquakes here. And now, it's happened a couple of times since I've been gone. I'm like, we can't really say that anymore. I think Mother Nature's caught up and has gotten angry enough that, so things are happening all over the place, not just a California thing anymore.
No, exactly. I guess, the East Coast was getting a little jealous, so they wanted to share some of the fun. And of course, a couple hours later, stores in New York were selling I Survived the Earthquake of 2024. Brilliant. Anything to make a buck,
Of course.
Yeah. So I grew up in Queens. I know you're Brooklyn, right?
I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Manhattan.
Okay. Sorry. Covering 2 of the boroughs. Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see where we could start. I know I heard you on a show maybe a couple years ago. You're a big Star Wars fan.
And, excellent.
I am too. So I mean, we can spend up the whole time.
Oh, please.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. It's
fantastic. But let's start there. Has there ever been an opportunity to voice one of the shows now?
There hasn't. My buddies all have. James Arnold Taylor, was Obi-Wan, and D. Baker, who's all the clones. The clones were, exactly. So I have 2 friends of mine that have done so much in the Star Wars universe, and I haven't. It's really funny. There have been, and this is, again, first world problem for me. I've been so fortunate. I've been a Transformer. I've been a Ninja Turtle. I've done a lot of like iconic type of things, and with friends and my cousin Vinny. So I've been very fortunate, and I would never complain. Oh, I never got to do this. Yeah. So you'll never hear me complain about that. But aside from, there are certain things that I'm a fan of. The Marvel universe, for example, which is, all part of Disney now, of course, mixed in with Star Wars as well.
Right.
It's like, oh man, it'd be great to break it for some reason, But again, I've been so fortunate on so many other things to be able to be the voice of or be on camera and be in this movie or that TV show that it's hard for me to sit here in good conscience and go, I really am so upset that I never got to be, Spider-Man or,
Right.
So And again, I know a lot of the people that have voiced these roles that have done amazing jobs.
Right.
So again, even when I look at it, and I'm just looking at it sort of separate from myself and try to look at it neutrally and go, who would I replace? Those guys are so darn good. Everyone that has
Yeah.
voiced all these characters, they've been so good. And it's okay. It's okay. I've had my own stuff. But yeah, it would have been great to have had the opportunity to voice something in Marvel or Star Wars. That'd have been great. But I've had so many cool things it's hard to complain about.
Yeah. And I guess you can kind of give D. Bradley Baker some crap. I mean, he's monopolizing all the characters in the Bad Batch. I mean, he's got to share some of them, it's fantastic.
That
By
you
the
know
way.
what? D
So
is a
good.
great guy. D
Yeah.
is a great guy, and he's so talented. And James Arnold Taylor, so talented and such a good guy that for me, like when you know, having so many friends in this industry that have been successful and that I can still hear every day, I get so excited when I hear my friends, and it's so goofy. It's my wife and my friends are like, "Dude, you're in movies, you're in TV shows. Why do you still giggle when you see
Yeah.
yourself or your friends or hear your friends?" Like, I get excited. I'll watch like an animated show that I'm one of the lead voices on, and I have like because in addition, when you're doing series regular roles, you'll also do these ancillary parts as well.
Right.
Any given week, you'll play guy number 2 or hot dog vendor here.
Yeah.
So I'll hear myself doing one of those things and go, "Oh, that was," and it's just like one line. It's so silly, but I enjoy it. I get a kick out of it. So when I hear my friends voicing these great roles, I'm just, I already like the project to begin with, but then when I know I have that association with it, I get even more excited.
Right. And I feel like the business is so hard to get into. It's like a very, close knit like group. How did you first get involved in it?
Just the acting business in general?
No, just the voiceover work.
Oh, the
Just
voiceover. So
being a voice actor.
yeah, you were right. And to like give it some context for your listeners, because I know you know this, but maybe some people that listen don't know this. So I started doing voice work probably when I was 10 or 12. So I've been doing it, close to 50 years. Just straight voiceover stuff. Canoe from Coca-Cola Classic coming up next on a brand new. So I've been doing voice work for years. It wasn't until I think I probably moved to California that I started to break into animation a little bit because I'd done so many other commercial voice jobs, and I'd auditioned for some stuff. And it's one of these things where when you break through, you break through. Because if you think of the voiceover world as a small group of people that are fortunate enough to make a living or to do that work, animation is like a club within a club. It's a much smaller group, although it is still open to people breaking in.
Right.
It is still a small group of people doing a lot of the work. But again, thankfully, more and more people are breaking in all the time. So it must have been, I'm trying to think what one of my first, I started breaking in with Disney probably early on, doing some extra voices for them here and there, doing some guest star roles. And that sort of parlayed into more attention, getting more opportunity. Because all you really want as an actor is an opportunity. Right. You always tell your, people that say, oh, their agents get them work. All you really ask of your agent is get me in the room or get me in front of the microphone. Get me in a situation where I can win the job, right? We never rely on the agents to get us the job. It's a great thing if it happens, but we always rely on it. So for an actor, for a voice actor, film, stuff, it doesn't matter. All you want is that opportunity. And I found that once you sort of broke in and got those little voice here and there, okay, you get more opportunities to audition for maybe a series regular or something in a movie. And those opportunities started coming as well, to the point where, probably 20 years ago, the voice work started really churning and happening, and it was fantastic. And the great part about it is, and I've said this before in interviews before, and I really meant it, that it's the purest and most freeing thing to do as an actor, because if you can sound the part, you can be that character. So you're not judged by this, because a lot of people would see this and not that, for 60 years old, this isn't bad. I'm not saying I look horrible, yeah. But when I'm voicing guys that kind of sound like this, like teenagers, and then they see this, there's sort of a disconnect. So the idea that you can just sound like the part and be able to do that gig is incredibly freeing as an actor, because you're just being based on your talent, your sound, what you can do. And as a film and television actor for the better part of the last 40 years also, you're used to being judged on the exterior, which is natural. That's,
right, of course.
People envision the character a certain way, whether you're not the right gender, physical size, age. There are many different reasons to get or not get a role. So you're used to, as an actor, being judged by the outside, and then hoping that your talent, if you were not visually what they expected, your talent will override that. So to not have any of those, as many of those barriers and just be judged on the sound is incredible. Because then it keeps somebody like me playing these younger characters for years because the voice doesn't age like the rest of the body does. I mean, I'm sure it catches up eventually.
Yeah.
If I'm still playing teenagers that sound like this, I'm in big trouble, and so is the audience. But yeah, so that was my long-winded sort of entree into the voice world for you.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is you can just, go and record what you're wearing right now into this interview. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to shower or anything like that.
As I told you before we started, I did bathe. I put a little shave on. I didn't want to be too hideous, just hideous enough.
Enough, exactly.
I thought you deserved just slightly hideous. Yeah,
I do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know now it's probably you guys do more of it like solo in a VO booth or even at home recording and send files. Has there ever been a show where you all record as a guest?
It used to always be like that. It always used to be like that. That used to be the norm. I'm glad you brought that up because that was also one of the great things that I think since the pandemic, it was already starting to go away before the pandemic, but the pandemic killed a lot of group records. And the sad part about that is, and again, to your listeners and viewers that don't know how it works, normally back in the day, and I mean back in the day, maybe just 5 or 6 years ago, if you were doing an animated series, you would all together, you'd have people like 12 people around all their microphones, a bunch of different microphones in a booth together, sometimes a big booth, sometimes a smaller booth, and you would read it almost like a radio play. And that's how you would do an animated show. And the great thing about that is having other actors with you. And this goes for anything, goes for film, television, voice work, having other actors to work off of.
Right.
You'll always get something magical, something new, something different that was expected from just reading the script. If you just read the script, you can have the best. And I've been very fortunate. I've worked with incredible writers in both animation and then film and other, on-camera television. But there's a certain magic that happens when you go through the trouble of casting people that you feel are right for the role. Those actors understand the character and start to contribute with ad libs and contribute in different ways. And then when you're in a room with other actors playing their parts, there's a certain energy that you bounce off of that just brings the best out of everyone. That I'm not saying like solo recording, you're not going to get great stuff, because I'd like to think the stuff that I now do, which is mostly me in a booth or me at home on a mic, I'd like to think it sounds great. And it is good. But it's not the same dynamic as you said, being in a group record when you have that energy, the laughter, that just you will get things that are hard to reproduce solo in a mic, getting cues from your director and responding, even though you know what they're saying, because they might do something different that you would never expect that would cause you to react in a different way that was not written. So yeah, I miss being in the ensemble situation. And it definitely was one of those things I look back on and go, I think the last full-time show I did with an ensemble was probably Transformers Robots in Disguise.
Okay.
And we had an incredible cast. Incredible. Kari Payton, Will Friedle, Darren Criss, Constance Zimmer, Ted McGinley, myself. I mean, it was all actors that had done TV and film also. Right. So it was this great mix of energies and, backgrounds. And that was the last time that I actually did an ensemble record. And man, do I miss it. It was so much fun.
Right. And I guess maybe the godfather of voiceover work, besides Frank Welker, is Peter Cullen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I know he wasn't the focus of the show, but he was on the show. So were you able to work with him?
Are you kidding? Of course. Yeah. He was there. He was there a lot. And he was there. I remember he was actually there for the pilot.
Okay.
And again, I've been fortunate. I've worked with some amazing movie actors, TV actors. But when I got in that room, being a Transformers fan, and I heard him for the first time, Autobots, roll out. Yeah, that wasn't bad, actually. So I heard, I don't have that voice that he has, but, I heard the Autobots roll out. And I was like giggling, like, what's Optimus Prime? It's Optimus Prime. like a schoolboy. I was giggling.
Right.
And then when I said something in character and I made a joke, and Peter's like, that was funny. That character's very funny. I was like, Optimus likes me. I was so excited.
Oh,
it was incredible. Just to hear him say those words. I still get goosebumps just saying it. Because it's friggin' Optimus Prime. It's Peter Cullen. I mean, it's iconic, and his voice, and he was such a pleasure to work with, so easy to work with. And you try and not, when you're acting with someone, you try and it doesn't matter if it's on camera or not. You try and be in the moment and, just react and do your job as your character in that moment, right? But sometimes you couldn't help but, especially at the beginning, that first episode, it's like, oh my God, it's Peter Cullen talking to me. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you couldn't say it like that for too long, but there was
Right.
that
Of
sort of,
course.
"Ooh, this is
Yeah.
so cool." You step
Right.
out of yourself and realize
Yeah.
how fortunate you are and how cool it is. Then it's like, okay, I better get back to work, or
Right.
I'm just going to be one of those, people he works with that,
Yeah.
doesn't do a very good job. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it ended up being great. And it
Right.
was great to have him in the room like that.
Oh, that's great. There were three times I cried in the movie theaters. One
Ooh.
was when Mr. Spock died in Star Trek 2.
Oh, yes, with the
Very,
holding the
very
thing.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
Another
cried
one,
too.
yeah, another
Yeah.
one was, which was a very emotional scene, was Mr. Holland's Opus, which he came and
Oh.
they surprised him with the big concert and everything.
Oh,
And
wow.
by then I was like 20 something, and I'm like, oh my God.
Right, right.
Yeah. And the other third time was when Optimus Prime died in this Transformers movie. And that was like,
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen one of the originals. There you
exactly.
go. But there
Yeah,
you go.
30,
Yeah. Yeah.
almost 40 years ago. And the funny thing
Right.
about that movie is I remember vividly, my grandfather took me in Queens, New York, and I was 12 at the time, and the theater was packed, and I believe it was Bumblebee who cursed in the original theatrical one,
Oh.
but they
Right,
edited
right,
it
right.
out afterwards. I shit you not. Everyone but myself, my grandfather left because they were horrified. Oh my God, it's a cartoon. Somebody cursing. Now you watch cartoons. It's, this.
Especially so many adult-oriented cartoons. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but it was just so funny. It was like, where's everybody going? So it's a little, it says, oh shit, big deal. You know? But it was so funny. I always get a kick out of that, thinking of
Oh
that.
man.
But I always compare Transformers, which I absolutely loved, to Scooby-Doo because the original was classic. They had so many different versions, some good, some not good, but they all compared to the live action movies, which were terrible. I hate the Transformers movies and the Scooby-Doo ones. Sorry, but it's just really, really bad, you know?
You know what? You mentioned those two together, and I can't help but think of Peter Cullen like, we would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Exactly. I want to hear
Oh,
him say zoinks, you know?
oh my God. How come? There we go. I got rid of that. Yeah. It's one
Okay.
of those zoinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them says zoinks. It'd be incredibly funny. That would be, now I want to pitch that crossover because that
That'd
would
be,
be brilliant.
yeah, totally. I mean, because they met what? Don Knotts, or they met like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh my God. They've met so many.
Yeah, so they can do Transformers. It's
Yeah,
great.
of course. And then you have
Yeah,
your meddling kids in every episode, so you'd be fine.
right. And now my youngest is because they have the new Transformers Earthspark now is on Nickelodeon. So my
Oh,
son
wow.
is into
I
that
have
now.
to catch up. I don't even, yeah. Now I have another
Yeah.
thing to watch.
Yeah, no, he
Thank you
surprised
for
me.
that.
Yeah, he surprised me. He's like, yeah, Dad, I like the Transformers. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I'm like, and it's like Megatron's a good guy now, and it's very weird. You know,
Interesting.
yeah, they had a
Interesting.
truce or
Now I'm
something like that.
curious.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm
Check it out.
curious.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
check it
on
out.
Paramount Plus or like
I'll check
Nickelodeon.
it out.
Yeah, it's great. But I'm sure you watched Bad Batch, right? Star Wars now, right?
I haven't. I have not yet.
Oh, you have to. It is
I
so
know. I know. I hear amazing things.
right. It is fantastic. But you're all caught up in the Clone Wars, though, right?
No,
Oh, come
I
on.
am. I'm telling you, there are certain things I'm not caught up on Clone Wars. I'm not
Okay.
caught up like the Bad Batch, and there are certain shows. There are certain shows that I went like that. I was voracious about. I just went through them,
Yeah.
and then some. I don't know why. And again, I have friends in these shows. I know they're amazing,
Right.
and all I do is hear my friends talk about them. It's like I can jump in certain conversations, others
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, oh, I guess I better just for my own being able to participate, the
Right.
participation aspect of it. I better
Exactly.
start watching. Yeah, I need to catch up.
Yeah.
But and the nice thing is the reward as a viewer is there are so many tied together story points and aspects of all these shows that just meet that by watching one show, you'll sort of get the reference from another show and get that character
Exactly.
from that show and go, that's where that came from. So there's that reward as a viewer
Right.
and that advantage to seeing everything. So yeah, now
Yeah.
that you've shamed me,
I'm
I will
sorry.
do it.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I could use a good shaming.
Yeah,
After a
exactly.
good bathing, I could use a good shaming.
Exactly. And no one's listening anyway. But but the thing with these shows now is like they're trying to tie them into the train wreck of episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, because they have to kind of get to that point. And I think that movie is terrible. Every day I find something wrong with that movie. And it's just like my oldest is like, it's like, let it go. It's been 5 years already. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let it go. This movie was terrible. It ruined my childhood. I hate you, Jaden.
uh,
But
yeah,
no, it,
yeah.
it's like you think like, okay, Disney did some good things with Star Wars, and then some, not so great. I think the biggest point there was not having one director to have one vision throughout that whole.
Yes, that does make it complicated. And listen, you're also it's a hard, and I'm not being an apologist. I'm just sort of thinking of it pragmatically. It's hard to try and bring in a new audience that consumes things differently, that responds to different things, while still maintaining the things that appeal to the original audience. Because you have decades of a gap
Yeah.
between, when they first started and where we are now. So audiences have become in some ways more sophisticated and in some ways less tolerant and less focused and more, quick fix. So the way we tell stories today has, I think, changed a little bit. And that definitely has a domino effect. And especially with a franchise, like I said, that's been around for decades. So
Right.
I can't imagine it's an easy thing to find a way to appeal to the nostalgia and the memory of what, people like me. How old are you?
I'm 49.
Okay. So I'm a little older than you, obviously. I should be 60 this year. So having to appease that audience while at the same time engage this new audience that consumes things very
Right.
differently, I can't imagine that would be easy. Again, I'm not making an excuse like, oh, you
Right.
should give them a pass in this, but
Yeah.
I try and think of it logically and think about, wow, that's got to be really, really hard. I mean, when I first found out, shameless plug here.
Hmm.
So when I first found out I was doing Donatello and TMNT, the movie, right? I was really excited. And I've told this story before as well. But at the same time, there was a part of me that was like, oh, crap. I hope I don't ruin it. I hope I don't ruin Donatello for everyone because I
Right.
love TMNT.
Yeah.
I love the franchise. And I
Right.
was like, oh, wow. There are so many people that have loved this for so many years, like me, like myself, that have been watching the Turtles for decades. And here I come in like, hope I don't screw it up. So there's that sense of
Yeah.
responsibility. And how do we honor this while bringing something new to the table to appeal to this group?
Right.
And that's not easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I understand a lot of people were disappointed and horrified by the newer movies. And again, I go back and watch the old movies with so much nostalgia. But I'm like, man, back then I thought those effects were fantastic. Now I'm looking at it, it looks like,
Exactly.
like, Mom, I need some puppets. Give me some socks. So
Yeah.
it's different. You look, but
Right.
again, you try not to be too jaded and look at it with those eyes and
Yeah.
just sort of let it wash over you the way it was meant to be back in the day. So yeah, that's a tough task, but I understand. I do understand that people are disappointed, and I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I look at it, it's a movie. It's part of your childhood. It's part of, I guess, my whole life, really. He didn't ruin my childhood. I'm, joking around.
No, I know. I
Yeah,
know.
stuff like that.
I
But
would
but
hope it wouldn't take that little to ruin a childhood, but you never know.
yeah, no, exactly. But some people really, take that like seriously, and it's
Oh,
like,
it's
oh my
personal.
God. And it's personal. And I look at him like, okay, it happens. I just won't really recognize that movie. It's like the only one I don't own on DVD. It's like, and I refuse to. But it's it
Oh,
is
that's
one
funny.
thing. Yeah. But it's funny you mentioned about like living up to Donatello, and like Barry Gordon was great in the original one. And then
Yeah, I thought so too.
Robert Paulson, who did Raphael, and then he did in the 2012 version
Yep.
Donatello. He was great. He was on the show before.
Yeah.
So when you get that job, do you I mean, being a fan of the Turtles, do you kind of go back and kind of pay closer attention to that character, or you just want to do it completely your own?
No, I knew the character well enough. I had watched the character enough that I knew who Donnie was. And I was afraid that if I spent too much time focusing on the previous versions, that I would get too tied up in how Donnie sounded.
Right.
So for me, it was more of like, if I know who that character is, and I know the ballpark of where I need to be. I know he's a teenager. I know these guys, you know, Mikey's kind of like the surfer dude. And then you have, Raphael, the tough guy, and Leonardo is the brain. So, like the archetypes of these guys. And for me, getting to play, the tech nerd out of everyone is perfect because I'm a
Right.
huge tech nerd.
Right.
So for me, it was like, oh, this guy's like, if I could have picked a turtle to play, it would have been Donnie.
Yeah.
So it was perfect. But like you said, I wanted to, I felt like I knew the character in my head enough that I didn't want to get too swayed by what other people had done before. If they had said, look, it's important that he sounds this, this, this. Like, okay, let me go back and listen. Let me give you that aspect with my little spin on it. But, Kevin Monroe, our director, he was very open to our interpretations of it. And I think he liked what we brought to it. And then, we got some subtleties and nuanced direction along the way. Of course, that's what's supposed to happen. But Kevin really allowed us to play and not be too bound by what came before. But watching that movie now, I really like it. I'm not saying that because it's me. I
Right.
really just the ensemble. I like the voice work in that movie. I thought it was a really underrated movie. And again, I rarely talk about movies like, oh, it was genius and people, but I try and watch things clinically and I can actually watch that movie and enjoy it. It was a fun, really well written, well voiced movie that I was really proud to be a part of. So at the end of the day, I wasn't too horrified because I'm very self critical.
Right.
But this one, I was like, I like that. That was good. That was fun. I'm proud of that. So yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I went. I didn't see it when it first came out. Sorry, but when it was
That's
on
okay. I don't care.
cable, I saw it with my son who was a big Turtles fan, and it was good. It was
It's a
solid.
fun movie. It's
Yeah,
a fun
absolutely,
movie.
absolutely. That's what it has to be. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, it's not say
Hey, come on.
not changing the world, but it's great.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
They
right.
eat pizza, they got mutated, and they fight
Yeah,
crime. Come on. I
yeah,
mean, really, what
yeah.
else is there?
Right. Absolutely. And the whole animation process, they record the audio before they actually make the video, right?
Correct.
So they kind of
Correct. Yeah,
do
unless you're
all
coming to
the
do ADR, unless you're coming to
right.
do additional recording, or if you're replacing someone, or if if someone can't come back and voice their part, or they're busy and you have to. So there are different situations where you will have to match. We call it the mouth flaps, right?
Okay.
Where you will have to match that. But the nice part is when you're doing something, an original version of a show, of a movie, you always record the voice first. They animate to the voice because a lot of times, you'll come up with a reading, a style that they will have to match the emotion or match the
Yeah.
physical manifestation of whatever it is that you voiced. So it really behooves them to do the voicing first
Okay.
because they have to match in that way, match the emotion, match because you never know it's like, and if you do multiple takes, you could be doing multiple different versions that, oh, wow, that's good. We could take it that way. We could do it this way. And then imagine matching those all for every scene. You can make a million different movies just out of the different takes that you've done. So, yeah, 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 yeah.
Has anyone like approached you, I don't know, at a store or wherever, and just recognized you from one of your shows that you voiced?
Huh. People always, I get recognized a lot from the on camera stuff.
Right.
People will hear my voice and say, you sound really familiar, which is interesting
Yeah.
because I don't think I have that unique of a voice, but people will recognize it and go, hey, you sound really familiar. And like, oh, really? Or they'll hear me on TV in something and they'll hear the voice and go, that sounds familiar. What is that? Oh, and then they'll know it's me. Then they'll know to come say, hey, you're in my favorite anime show, which is great.
Right.
But yeah, some people have that kind of ear where they can tune in. And, at the end of the day, it's like, I'd like to think I'm not one of these guys. Like I said, I have some incredibly talented friends that can sound like D. Bradley Baker, like James Arnold Taylor, like Roger Craig Smith,
Yeah.
that could sound like 100 different people. You would never know it was them.
Right.
My strength, I think, has always been more performance than variety of voice.
Mhm.
Not that I don't sound different in different shows, because Donnie was more like me, and then there were other characters that sounded very different. But I was never one of these guys that could sound like 100 different people. I have friends that do it so well, but so I think it might be a little easier to recognize me because sometimes it's like a variation, but the same core sound might be there. Wow, I'm really limiting myself. No one's going to hire me again.
Uh-oh.
But still, I could still do other things and sound really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when people do recognize me, it's always kind of cool when they recognize the voice because I think that takes a lot more imagination. Because again, you're listening and then having to put it like, oh yeah, oh that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does happen, just not as much as you get recognized from obviously people seeing something on TV or in a movie theater.
Okay. So no one's gonna bitch you out because I had to drive 2 hours to Toys R Us when it was open because I had to get Skylanders, right? For my oldest
Oh
son.
wow! Oh God! What
Okay.
was he?
It's
What was not Master Blaster? That was from what was it? What was
like
my
Trap
character called?
2. I don't remember.
Yeah, he had two. It was like two names, but he was like a
Yeah.
boxing Skylander. Oh God, that was actually fun.
Okay.
It's fun being a Skylander because I
Yeah.
played the game like crazy. I love that game.
Right. Yeah. He had a good 2 months where he was obsessed with it. So he played it a lot and then it was just gone. But yeah.
I love those like toy to life games. Like
Yeah,
Disney
it
had the
was
one
great.
also with
Oh,
the
that's
Disney
right.
and the Marvel
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah.
And I
Those are
just created
cool.
all the I collected all the little Marvel models. I played the game,
Okay.
but I also like put up those little. Oh, they look great. The
Yeah.
builds on those were killer.
Right. What do you consider like your prized possession in your Star Wars collection?
Ooh, well, prized possession. I don't know. I've got a bunch of different stuff. This is going to sound ridiculous. I really want to get the new Millennium Falcon, the new
Lego?
Lego desktop one.
Yeah.
That's already like put the word out there for my birthday, not so subtly. There's a version of the Millennium Falcon that was made for kids. And it was like those kids size Star Wars, like the little almost like chibi size
Oh, I
Star Wars
remember. Yeah,
figures. And it had sounds, it had lights. I had one that I played with for years.
right.
It was my son's
Yeah, of
and my
course.
daughter's, loosely. But I also got one to put away that I still have put away in storage.
Smart.
It's not the most valuable thing in the world, but I love that thing. I also have, um, was it the Slave One? Although you can't call it that
I
anymore.
know.
They
Yeah,
renamed the ship, but
yeah,
that's what the ship was called back in the day.
right. That was
I have
great.
different versions of that ship that I love that are again are in box, put
Yeah.
away. Trying to think what else. This one I love. Hold on a second. I'm kind of a Hot Toys fanatic. Are
Okay.
you familiar with Hot Toys?
Yeah, I am.
So, The Mandalorian
Yep.
and Grogu. This
We
is
have
like one of my favorites.
we have
Again,
that too. Yeah.
in terms of
Great.
value, it's like it's not about value, it's just about how much you enjoy something and value something. This is one of my favorites because it basically sits on my desk and I get to look at it every day. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
oh, and then of course I have my lightsabers too. I have a couple of NeoPixel sabers that I love that are, do you have any sabers? Do you have any lightsabers?
My son went Disneyland 2 years ago. He got the Anakin, the hilt one. He has that. I have when Phantom Menace came out and they
Right.
had that big midnight stuff. I got the double-sided, excuse me, Darth Maul one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and then it turned out
that's
to
a
be
killer one.
a recall. Speaking of killer, because the thing got too hot, it started smoking.
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean, I
They
still
should have
had
just like sold it as an effect. They should have sold like, no, that's just the really
exactly,
the visual
exactly
effect.
right. And when I heard that, I'm like, there's no way I'm returning this thing. Screw that. I'm keeping. Fire be
It
damned.
may take down the house, but it's going to be on my terms.
Awesome. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. But
Wow.
he has a couple of the hot toys I just got. It should be coming to the episode 3 Anakin,
Oh
which
wow. Okay.
yeah, and then Emperor Palpatine, which I actually ordered yesterday.
Oh
I
wow.
can't wait for that to come.
Does that have the like electricity effect? Oh, is
He's
it?
sitting in his throne chair.
Okay, so there's no
So
electric. Okay, because I know
don't
there was one
know.
that I think
Yeah, there
had
is.
like
Yeah.
the yeah, there was like an electric effect. That what is your? Well, you asked me what is your most prized Star Wars
I had
collectible
a
that you have? What do you?
lot put away that I gave to my oldest, and he just opened them up. But because they mass produce so many of them that it's not
Right.
really. But now he has a lot of those, hot toys that are displayed in his room. He has this Emperor's, not Emperor's, the throne room from Episode 4, where all the
Oh wow.
Imperial admirals with Tarkin and Vader and all of them in the
Oh
same table,
wow.
which is fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but me, I still have all the glasses from Burger King from the 3 movies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I still have those. I have like 12 of them
The
from
three originals?
yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so
That's amazing.
I'm pretty excited about
Those
those.
are the ones that are super hard to get. The ones that, came from,
Yeah,
that were premium giveaways and stuff. That was because once
exactly.
they were done, they were done
They were done. They're not
and you can never
anymore.
find them and they're breakable. So, oh yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, so I just got to be careful. They're like in the display, no one's touching them. Exactly. You want to drink something here? Here's a solo cup.
Exactly.
I don't want
Please.
to.
Yeah. You're not touching these things.
Yeah,
They are not for consuming any beverage.
right. Yeah, but I think it was Last Jedi. I went to the midnight opening at Target, and they had a raffle, and I had no idea what the prize was. I actually won it. So they come,
What
oh,
was it?
just stand here, we'll get your prize. Out comes, I would say a life-size porg, but porg is this thing. The thing was like 6 foot massive porg. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah. And I'm like, am I gonna open it up? It's all gonna run out, I'm like, I gotta put my car now. I guess it's great. I can leave it in and go in like the hover lane.
I was gonna say you're gonna go.
Just leave it in there. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing with this thing? So I put it in the basement and I showed my son. He was like, this thing is awesome. My
Oh,
wife's
that's fantastic.
getting rid of this thing, So every year we have like the mass pickup the town does, it's like, you throwing it out this year? Sure, honey, whatever. Stay down there. It was great. I even like tweeted at Mark Hamill. I'm like, look at this thing. And he actually like responded to my tweet.
Oh, that's funny.
Because it's pork. It was like unbelievable. But yeah, but that was really fun. You couldn't give me like a figure or a lightsaber. You give me like a massive pork. But
Hey, they didn't say it was going to be easy. They
no,
just said it was going to be free.
right, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I spent enough money on Star Wars over the years.
Oh God, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I hear you. We just moved some collect. We just, you know, we moved to the house we're in now about 5 years ago, and the it has a three-car garage with some attic storage up there, but we extended the storage out.
Okay.
And, because we have a lot of collectibles and stuff. And then I realized there were certain things that I didn't want up there that I wanted someplace off. So we just recently got a small storage facility in a temperature controlled
Nice.
place. And it's like, oh, this is like the perfect place for my,
Exactly.
Star Wars stuff, the Ninja Turtle stuff, my Transformers stuff.
Okay.
Because I still have some Transformers stuff that I love. And
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I still have like the original Soundwave from like the
Oh,
80s.
wow. Really?
He was like the favorite. So I still have that. And like that's somewhere in my garage put away.
Mine was Optimus Primal,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like with the metal with the metal Oh, so I have
Yeah.
one that's sort of loose, and then one that's still in its original
Oh,
box.
that's awesome.
So I have that one put away, and
Right.
yeah, that one I'm like, that can stay in that box forever
Right.
as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned. As long
Right.
as I want to, because that was the whole thing. I mean, I collect stuff, but I
Yeah.
also love toys and love to.
Yeah.
So it's like, especially when I could do it, because usually when you buy these things at the beginning, they're not that expensive. They weren't
Right.
meant to be.
No, of course not.
So, if you could buy one to play with and one to put away, if you're a collector, when it was reasonable to do that, I would do that. So at
Right.
least you'd have the joy.
Yeah.
And then also that one, that'll stay pristine.
Right.
But I still get to play with it and make it march around
Yeah.
the house. I am a giant man child after all, so why
Me
not?
too. So it's fine. But now they make it like so hard to find these things. And the prices, they just price out the poor kids, and it's a shame.
Well, it's, you have manufacturing now that's your stuff that is being sold as a collectible.
Yeah.
Back when we first started collecting toys, when you and I were collecting toys, they were being sold as toys.
Right.
They were being sold to play with. They weren't being sold to collect. It was a whole different MO.
Right.
But now you're right. And now, especially with crowdfunding and with Hasbro Pulse, and you'll see a lot of stuff that is being, just made especially for collectors, priced for collectors, not priced for, the average family to buy, which sucks because you see this stuff and you want it and you realize, oh, it's $600. Maybe I'll pass on this forever.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He wants this massive Lego set. It's from the Clone Wars. It's a ship called the Ventnor, and it's like $600.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's like we see at the Lego store. It's fantastic. I'm like, no. No. Do you want to go to
It's
college?
it's so hard. I mean, I see these, I mean, we joke about that, but I see these giant sets that are beautiful, and just logistically, I don't know, my shelves in here are like board games and hot toys and collectibles. I don't know. I'd say I could hang a ship from here, but then the fan would hit it.
Right.
Or maybe I just put it on the fan, let it spin. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like there's no place for me to put a lot of my stuff. And a lot of the stuff I want to be able to look at.
Of
I want
course.
to be able to look at it every day. I have my Roboson Optimus Prime robot over here. I have Godzilla over there. So it's fun to play with these things, but I'm running out of room for the simple joy of just having it around. Now it's like, okay, where am I going to put it? If I'm going to buy it to put away and I'm not enjoying it, what's the point? So
Yeah.
I've come to a crossroads, basically.
No, I hear you. No, it's tough.
Very sad.
No,
Very sad.
thankfully, he's still here, so I kind of display in his room. So it's kind of like a loophole where my wife's not letting me display in our bedroom, so we have it in his room, so I can go in.
You know what? My son's away at college. I should just start putting crap in his room.
Yeah,
He'll come home and he'd be thrilled. He'd be like, "This is great." I'm like, "Exactly right."
Exactly.
No one's upset. No harm, no foul.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to make a little hard turn here, and
Sure.
yeah, there are actors who get typecasted in certain roles. Did you ever feel like you were typecasted as an orthodontist? First Barry on
Oh God.
and then Bruce on Minor Adjustments.
Oh God. I no, I wasn't worried about it, but I did think it was kind of funny and a little weird that I was playing an orthodontist on the same network, two orthodontists on the same network at the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first got Minor Adjustments to play Bruce Hampton, like you said, I was already Barry on Friends. So to get a series regular role as an orthodontist and then also a recurring role on this, when I got the role, the president of NBC at the time was Warren Littlefield. And he's like, "Now, Mitchell, if they ask you questions about the two," we were talking about how funny it is that I'm playing, these two orthodontists, and, the press was going to ask about it. I wasn't really worried about it, but I thought it was very odd to play an orthodontist on two shows on the same network at the exact same time. But yeah, I could think of a lot worse things in life, but it was a little odd now that I think about it.
Yeah.
At least Bruce Hampton was, people didn't despise him as much as they despised Barry.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot like you played that jerk on Minor Adjustments, mostly because it wasn't on long enough. But I wasn't really that much of a jerk. But Barry, people, oh, you play that jerk on Friends. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, sure. Yeah, that's me, the jerk.
But it was funny. It's like if it wasn't for you, that show wouldn't have happened.
I was the impetus for her
Exactly.
leaving and then coming on
Right.
the show, and they're Rachel and Ross.
Yeah.
Then I'd come back and create more drama. So in a
Right.
way, I really helped.
Yeah.
Thank you. At least you see it my way. I helped move that
Yeah.
show forward.
Right. Absolutely.
Is there a Friends without a nemesis? I don't know. Probably. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, probably. But still, they originally brought me in to audition for Ross. And I got right down to the end. They brought me to audition for Chandler and Ross. Then at the very end, I was down to the last cut for Ross. Then at the end, I didn't get the role, which was fine because David Schwimmer did a fantastic job. Again, what am I going to do? Oh, I could have done. He was great. He was perfect. So when they went with David Schwimmer instead of me, they said, "Hey, we have another role. That's going to be a recurring role. Are you interested?" I was like, "Yeah, heck yeah. I love the script.
Yeah.
I thought the script was amazing. I wanted to be a part of it in some way. So this let me still be a part of it, which was fantastic. Jerk or not, I still got to be a part of it. So that's great.
Yeah.
You can call me jerk. I was a part of a great show. That's fine."
Yeah. My dog just opened my door. I just want to shut it. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Let the puppy in.
Either he scratches the door to come in and then he scratches to come out. So,
yep, I have the same thing here.
Yeah.
Except they're with my wife. The puppy's with my wife right now. So,
okay.
I should have blurred out my background like you.
You don't want to see my background. That's why it's just my back.
Okay.
I had like my own studio, but then when the youngest came, we needed the bedroom. So what happens?
Oh, yeah.
Video done,
Yeah,
so,
get pushed out. Absolutely.
Exactly. I'm like
for a good reason.
Now. Yeah, exactly. Wherever I can record now as I go.
With a towel over your head in a closet, just doing whatever needs to be done like an animal.
Yeah. Right. I would do it in the garage if the Wi-Fi wasn't so bad down there.
Exactly. Oh, I put a note out there in the garage too. I put one of an extra wireless,
nice.
An extra wireless router out there just so if I had to.
Yeah.
Well, also we put like a little TV in the garage.
Okay.
So when we worked out or did something, when I'm tinkering around, I could have the TV on. So again, certain things that we prioritize, right? Internet connection was always like, you have to have a good, strong internet. Big thing.
Totally. Especially if you have to record anything.
Oh my God. Yeah. Especially for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And I'm sure you write it off. So it's good.
Of course. It's all a write-off. It's great.
Yeah. It's like Seinfeld. You don't even know what a write-off is.
And now that we've talked about all these, these collectibles on the show, it's work related.
Right. Boom.
We should go buy some more hot toys. Just write it off.
I'm down. I'm ready.
Let's do it.
I have a bookmark on my internet page, I always get like the texts, when things are dropping and stuff like that. I'm like, damn it, I don't want to see this. And I quickly open it up.
Oh yeah. No, I'm still looking. I think I'm sort of relegated now to eBay to find the Nick Fury that I want.
Okay.
That's the thing with hot toys though. And if people don't know what hot toys are, incredibly lifelike figures, pop culture figures from movies, mostly a lot of Marvel, Star Wars, some DC stuff, but they're so lifelike and everything's interchangeable. But I've gotten so crazy with this, and they make multiple versions of each character. Like they'll make Iron Man from not only every Iron Man movie, but every Avengers movie.
Yep.
They'll make a Black Widow from every Avengers movie and from the TV. So there are different versions with different sculpts, different facial sculpts. So you get to be a little bit of a snob, like, well, I don't think I want the facial sculpt from, the second Avengers. I really need to have this facial. The third. It was much better. The eyes were more lifelike. So there's a certain, I forget which Nick Fury it is that I want, but I couldn't find it except on eBay. So now I have to, be at the mercy of someone selling it at a reasonable is a, variable term. But yeah, I'm hoping I can find someone that has a price-friendly Nick Fury hot toy out there for me.
Good luck. But if anyone's out there, please.
Please hook me up. Yeah, I'm willing to pay. I just have to find him.
Right. Yeah, he keeps bugging me for this new, because he already has an episode 3 Anakin, but there's another episode 3 Anakin, of course, and he wants that one. That was like $600.
I'm telling you. And these things are like stocks. I mean, once they stop making them, they become a commodity and they just go up in price.
Right.
So that's why I say every box, everything is pristine. I still have the shipping box for all of my hot toys, the hard cardboard box to protect the soft cardboard. Oh, please. Yeah. I'm really painting a very unattractive picture of myself, unless you're a hardcore collector, in which this guy's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right with you.
Yeah. Thank God I have a person who loves me. So it's good because,
Exactly.
Yeah. Not attractive.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you mentioned, Marvel and Star Wars got a Rocky Balboa statue, hot toy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a few years
Oh,
ago.
that's super cool.
And that one's cool because it's like, the bronze statuette. So that I have downstairs displayed, so it doesn't look like a toy. So it's like, all right, there's a little loophole there. I can leave that
There
out.
you go.
Yeah.
That was what I did with like my Lego botanical series, the
Okay.
Lego orchids and Lego succulents. I
Yeah.
can sort of put them up and it's art.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I have fun building it, but it looks really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, you have to be creative in how you pitch the things that you want to display. Some of it is just in the pitch itself.
Right. And there are some things I'll just display and like, all right, let me see if I can get past her. And if I do, that's great. If not, I'll end up, it'll be on the bed.
Who's going to notice? Who's going to notice this first?
Yeah, exactly. I've had this like Waldorf and Styler from the Muppets down there for
Oh
like
my
years,
God.
and it's like it's there, and it's like it's fantastic. Yeah, it's good. Then you try to get a little greedy and have a couple Funkos down there, and it's
Then
like,
you realize when you push it too far, like, no, I don't want those things. Like, oh, shit, came
yeah,
so close.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so close.
Like put it away. Yeah,
Back
because next time it's gonna be in
in the box.
garbage. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, now, how with Friends? I mean, the
Yeah,
show is what 30 years ago it started now, and it's
yeah, yeah.
timeless now with streaming. It's on every channel. It's on the Weather Channel now. It's on every channel.
It's
It,
crazy.
it's crazy, and you're getting a new like generation of people, and it's just fantastic. Now, just how timeless is that show?
It's pretty special. That's why when we first started talking about stuff that I would have liked to have done, it's hard to go there because I feel so fortunate that I have had these roles on iconic shows.
Hmm.
Um, I read the script. I think there were two scripts that I read that I auditioned for that I knew instantly would be hits. One was Field of Dreams,
Okay,
and the other was Friends. I've read other shows that I knew were going to be good, but I said, no, this will win an Oscar for screenplay, and it did. And this show is going to be a huge hit. The pilot was so well crafted. The characters they're right there on the page, which makes it so easy for an actor to
right.
jump right in because everything you need is right there. And then you can create on top of that. Um, so I read that script and I was like, oh, as I spit and drool, which is also attractive. It goes with the collecting, very attractive.
There you go.
I said to my agent, I was like, yeah, this one is special. I'd like to be a part of this one. And again, as an actor, you also try not to get too attached because at the end of the day,
Right,
it's business. It's your job. It's work. Um, and the second it becomes so personal, like in the audition process, when you hold on to it, it's like, okay, but then if I can't get past this, I have to, it's almost like as soon as you audition, you have to let it go on to the next thing. Let it go on to the next thing, or else you're so bogged down with, oh, did I get that? Or did they like me? Or I hope I did a good job. That's like, then you can't focus on what's coming up.
right,
So you sort of learn to sort of, get excited about it, do the audition, and then move on to the next thing. But even I remember reading the script and just saying, yeah, this one is something special. So as the process went on, as I was getting closer to being a part of the show in some way, I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is one that you try not to want something
right.
because the second you want it, you don't want to be disappointed, number one. And you don't want to come off as if you want it. You don't want to be too needy or
Yeah,
in anything, whether it's a relationship or work. You never want to be that, but it's like,
exactly.
it's like, who wants that? So you try not to get too attached too early on and just think of it clinically and do your job and then move on. But I knew from the very beginning this was going to be something special. I don't know. I can't say that I knew it would be a hit show. I didn't know it would be iconic and that we'd be talking about it multiple decades later, which, is a testament to the quality of the show, the writing, the acting, the entire crew. I mean, it was top to bottom amazing. And those things don't come around that often. So the idea that I was actually in one of those things, and it's still, like you said, my daughter, it's like all my friends at school, they think it's like a big deal that you're Barry and friends. I was like, oh, that's fun. Because and again, for her, it's like, she's just discovering it through her friends and through friends on TV.
Right.
And for me, it's like, oh, I'm living this generationally. You're reliving it generationally. And, it's a testament to making a good product, making good television. You could still watch Lucy episodes. They're still funny. There are still shows that just hold up for whatever reason. And I think Friends was sort of a voice for a generation that really hadn't been captured And it was incredibly relatable to the generation it was meant for. And then as they grew older, it appealed to us at older ages and then a whole new younger generation. So when you have that span, it's great. And yeah, I still think about like, wow, holy crap,
Mm.
that's so cool. People are still talking. People, the same thing with my cousin Vinny. My
Right.
cousin Vinny is on somewhere on television every week, somewhere
Yeah.
in the country. Oh, I just saw my cousin videos. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Of course.
And it's still people still talk about it. People still love that movie. So the idea that these projects have legs where people still, you know, it brings families together, people watch it together. Oh, it's my parents' favorite movie. We watch it during the holidays together. Now it's my favorite. It's really cool. And it's what makes the job really satisfying. Because we always joke like it's not brain surgery. We're not curing diseases here.
Yeah.
We're not solving world hunger. We're not, but we're hopefully creating content that distracts you and gives you joy. And, you know, and a lot of creative endeavors makes you think about things, sends a message. And sometimes it's okay to just laugh, to look at something and laugh. And, you know, just as escapism, I have my guilty pleasure shows, I call them.
Right.
So it's nice that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of a few of these things. So yeah, super cool.
Yeah. And, really funny comedies are, they're like not dated. Like you mentioned Lucy. You can watch Lucy. It's just as funny as it was back then. Honeymooners, I love
Right.
Honeymooners. Golden Girls is fantastic. Seinfeld, my
Oh,
favorite.
Golden Girls is great.
And in Friends. I mean, these shows you can laugh the same time just as hard the first time you watch. It's like the
Funny
800.
is funny.
And it's
And
funny.
here's the interesting part. I think it's harder to agree on it's easy to agree on what's sad.
Yeah.
You think about a drama. I mean, an animal, you know, a dog dies, everyone's going to cry, or your favorite Autobot dies.
Yeah.
I mean, we know it's easy to tell people, okay, if this happens, you know, every Disney show, every Disney movie, the mama animal dies and the
Yeah.
father dies. And so
Yeah.
we all know what makes us upset, what makes us tearful and crying and sad. It's a lot harder to verbalize exactly what makes someone laugh. So the fact that we have these shows that we talk about, whether it's Friends or Lucy or Frasier, one of my all-time
Yeah.
favorites, you know, Taxi.
Another one.
Again, I mean, there are so many brilliant shows that are able to make you laugh and are able to bring groups of people together that couldn't necessarily agree to laugh or find the same thing funny, yet somehow they do. There's something more universal, I think, about what makes people sad. And it's a little harder to make people laugh. And I think the fact that there are those shows is
Yeah.
pretty wild, you know?
Do you find now, since like everyone is offended with everything, the kind of comedy is kind of in a bad space now?
Oh, yeah, we can't. Well, yeah, I'll let you finish, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I even like TV show wise, I don't even know what's funny anymore. Like anything new. That's why I think everyone's going back and rediscovering Friends and all these
I
shows,
think so too.
because you can't really make anything new without offending somebody, especially movies. I think the last funny movie I saw was probably The Hangover. And how many was that?
Yeah.
15 years ago now? You still make like
So the Mike Tyson scene still makes me laugh.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
It's just
um,
it's sad.
it's hard, and you know, my feeling. Listen, we have a lot of things wrong. There are a
Yeah,
lot of things wrong in the world right now.
right.
Uh, I don't know if everyone would agree with me, but I hope most people would. We have a lot of problems with racism, you know, intolerance when it comes to sexual identity,
Yeah,
gender, sexual preference, religion. There are so many things that pull people apart right now, which is horrifying and sad.
yeah,
And in the past, we used humor to sort of heal those wounds or put like a giant mirror up and like amplify the very thing that's upsetting us to the point where we kind of all laugh and embrace and just, you know, it was a way of sort of healing and embracing and accepting by
right.
finding the humor in things. But we don't do that anymore. I think right now we're in a time where people are so sensitive, and rightfully so. I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but we can't. I think we're losing, unfortunately, the ability to look at ourselves and find the humor in things a little bit now. Not that a lot of the things that are terrible in the world should be laughed at, mocked. We're not talking about that.
No.
But I think the healing power of humor and finding the humor in things to sort of ease things a little bit has become less acceptable. And I hope we find a way to laugh again and find humor a little bit in things, in the everyday things that are trying and difficult and sad, to let a little bit of humor in, to sort of let the healing process, let that help the healing process. I hope we find a way to get back to that in a way that's healthy, that isn't offensive, that people aren't triggered by, that people aren't upset by. So yeah, because you're right. I think in the past where we've used humor and sarcasm and jokes about things that were sort of on the edge and we were able to laugh, now people are too sensitive to it. And I get it, but I hope that we sort of let our humor come through a little more in the future and let that become a way of healing and bringing people together a little more. Because now you're right. We can't. People are very sensitive. And like I said, rightfully so. But I miss you having that humor, uh, being able to bring us together and heal things a little bit.
Right. Like a movie, like one of my favorites, Blazing Saddles. By
Oh, you cannot make that. You'd be
you cannot make
crucified for giving the
exactly
script.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You'd
Yeah.
be canceled beyond being canceled
Correct.
forever. You
Yeah.
know, the worst
Yeah.
possible person in the world.
Yeah.
You know, Mel Brooks is a genius, an
Yeah.
absolute.
Mel Brooks is hysterical. And
And
again, you have to consider the times and
right.
the intent and again, and it's almost like intent doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And it's, what were you intending? What was the joke supposed to be? It's like, nope, if you can't say this word, you can't do this. And again, I get it, but I would love to get back to where, we can infuse a little bit more humor into the things that are challenging to bring us together a little bit.
And you mentioned, Cousin Vinny before, and it's like you said, it's on all the time, and it's a classic. I watched it the other day because it was on. Of course, you're not changing a channel when it's on. It doesn't
It's
matter
my
what
cousin
often
Vinny.
it is.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
great.
I mean,
Yeah,
I changed the channel because I lived it, but other people,
exactly.
they
Yeah,
watch the whole thing.
right.
I'll still watch it too.
Yeah. Now, is there, I mean, that's got to be one of the all-time great casting jobs ever in movie history, I think. Everyone nailed their part, down to Bruce McGill. You want to go every Austin Pendleton,
Oh
everyone
my
nailed their
God.
part, Fred Gwynn, it's like it's amazing.
I totally agree. I
Yeah,
totally agree. I watched that. And again, you're sort of, and think about how fragile it is having a hit. The difference between having a hit movie and not having a hit movie is think about how fragile that is. Getting the right people for every role, having the writing be on point,
right.
having the directing be on point, the editing, the set direction, the lighting, makeup, hair. I mean, everything comes together. And again, it really is. And I know people say, oh, it's such a cliche. It's a collaborative experience. It really is. We don't look good if any of those things are out of place,
Right.
whether it's the lighting, whether it's the hair and makeup, whether it's the set, the costume, the wardrobe, the actors, the directing, the editor, the director sitting with the editor, picking which scene, which cut, which shot are we going to go in with? Which one are we coming out with? Again, you can make a million different movies just based on scene selection. So it's such a fragile thing having a hit and having everything work. And if everyone knew the formula, the perfect formula, like the joke is every movie would be a hit, right? Everything would be a hit. Um, but yeah, it's just, I look at that and the casting and the actors. Austin Pendleton is still one of my favorites. You know, again, it's I know some people are now upset by that scene, and I
Of
get that too.
course, yeah. But
I get that too.
comedy, yeah,
Comedy, it's comedy, and the fact that I think I'm going to get a good defense, and here he is, and he can't get a sentence out.
yeah,
There is humor in that to be found too, without making someone feel bad. I get it.
right.
But yeah, I just again I watched that. I'm like, holy crap! And I remember Jonathan Lynn, our director. He said after the first day, he said, I want you to come in. I want you to come sit with me while we edit so you can see what the camera sees. I want you to learn this, from a different perspective. I was like, I love that. And as an actor, you don't have the luxury of seeing yourself as the camera sees you. And he said, Jonathan Lynn told me, he goes, the lens is a microscope. It's a microscope. And again, especially me coming out of theater, it's a very different dynamic acting on stage, different dynamic working on where, the audience is distant from you and you have to have projection and people have to be in the back of the house, have to be able to see and hear you. So everything's a little bigger. Film is the exact opposite. Everything is subtle because the camera's right there. So I had a great lesson from Jonathan Lynn, who was kind enough to bring me into the editing room and show me, he goes, here, let's look at the scene. I want to show you. It isn't that he didn't like what I was doing, but he wanted me to have that perspective. Yeah. I'm like, oh, wow, this is what you see. This is what I see. And it made me realize, again, the precision of filmmaking. And again, it isn't just acting and doing whatever you want. There are parameters in terms of your movement on the set, what the camera will see, what the light is going to hit. If you're a fraction leaning on the wrong foot, you're not lit for that. And the camera sees something totally different. Now you're out of focus. So there's so many subtle things that go into that I was able to learn because he brought me into the editing room.
Right.
But yeah, I'm digressing. But yeah, it's a magic. It really is a magical process, and that's when people say they want to come on set and watch you work. TV shows are different when they're like live audience shows, half-hour shows where you're performing the whole thing. Very different. Coming to see a movie being made is usually very tedious, not very interesting. A lot of boring stuff to the average person because again, there's a lot of sitting around making sure the set is perfect. The electrical has to be wired perfectly. The lights have to be perfect. Everything, the machine has to be perfectly tuned. And then the acting comes in. And then when you're shooting a scene, you're doing 2 pages a day.
Hmm.
So you're not even doing that much. And then you're doing those 2 pages over and over. Then you're doing those 2 pages from a master shot, a 2-person shot, over the shoulder, single shot. So it's like people are like, oh my God, they're really beating this to death. It's like, well, not really, because then when you see it in the end and everything's all sewn together beautifully, it's because all of these things that seem very clinical and boring on the outside worked in harmony to make this. So yeah, it was pretty darn cool. Even being on the set and watching, even on days when I wasn't shooting, I would come to the set and watch because I enjoyed it so much and I enjoyed watching the other actors so much.
Was there one particular scene that you kind of broke character because it was
Oh God, yes, of course. Yeah. As a matter of fact, and if you go back and watch the movie, you'll be able to see it. So, as I just told you, when you do a scene, you shoot a master shot that shows as much of the room as you can. And then you go into coverage, where you'll go into a close-up of someone or a 2-shot of 2 people over the shoulder, people talking to each other, multiple shots to cover. That's why they call it coverage. You're covering the entire scene. We did the master shot of Austin Pendleton for the first time, letting us know that he's a stutterer.
Right.
Again, no offense to stutterers. I get it. Again, I was on trial for my life. I think I was really smart, got rid of Vinny, got my own guy. First time he talks, he's stuttering and hitting people on the jury with his head. I mean,
yeah.
So when he was doing that and when he was doing his close-up, I was laughing so hard because I how could you not? It was hysterical. So I said to Austin, and we became friends doing this movie. I was like, Austin, can you do me a favor? He goes, sure. What do you need? I was like, when it comes to my shot for the close-up for me, do me a favor. Don't really act it out. Just sort of do the lines and hit your mark. Hitting the mark is where you're supposed to be on the set for any given shot so that I'm watching you in the right way. When they turn the camera around, everything will match. The sight lines will match, right? I said, just, hit the marks and just say the words and don't, because I'll laugh. I won't be able to help. He goes, no problem. Got you. I got you. I said, great. It's action. Ladies and gentlemen and he was as loud and stuttering big and hitting the tape. Right. I mean, bigger than he's ever done. And I can't even, and he looked and they go, cut. He's like, is that what you meant? I was like, yeah, Austin, just what thank you so much. I was like, you son of a bitch. And we laughed about it. I was like, I knew he's such a good guy, such a sweetheart. He's like, no, don't worry. I'll just make it very subtle for you. But so if you watch carefully during any of Austin's scenes and it cuts back to me, Ralph, and Joe, there are some times where I'm covered and it could be mistaken for being upset.
Of course.
Or not.
Yeah.
And even Jonathan Lynn was like, Mitchell, listen, you can't laugh. I mean, it's like I said, Jonathan, intellectually, I get it. I know the words you were saying. Right. The body wants what the body, and it didn't help, by the way, that whenever Jonathan yelled action, he turned his back because he'd start to laugh. So my support system wasn't exact. And Paul Schiff, our producer, he would start to laugh. So it doesn't like I had the greatest support system. Great guys. Exactly. Not so supportive when it came to, telling me not to laugh, and they're hysterical themselves. So, but what an amazing time.
Well, that's great. It's such a great movie. It's amazing. And, obviously Marissa Tomei.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like the old Seinfeld line, she won an Oscar for that. I know. Yeah.
When I sat in the editing room and I watched them editing her scenes. I said, she's going to win an Oscar for this. I said, you really think so? I said, absolutely. She's genius.
Yeah.
So the only one I think in the world, I don't know why people were so surprised by it. I think there was this idea she was up against 4 other actresses, I think, that were in dramas. They were all in dramas. So, again, that dramas tend to rule the Oscars, which, very poignant and powerful performances. Absolutely. So they don't think of a comedy being able to compete in that arena but I was like, she's going to win. So when she won, everyone's like, I can't believe it. I was like, I called it.
Yeah.
I called it a year ago when we were at the thing.
Right.
So yeah, she was brilliant in the movie. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, she was actually, and she's gone on to some great things.
Oh, she's amazing. She's an
Yeah.
incredible actor.
Right. Still waiting for the Hot Toys Aunt May figure though. That's got to come out, right?
Please. Yeah, did they ever say that was going to happen?
No, I'm just, it's like fantasy booking there, but yeah,
That would be amazing.
yeah, you would think so, right? I mean,
Aunt May with Peter in the room. That would
yeah,
be fantastic.
totally.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, right. So how often do you get asked about best men?
Today makes twice. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I know, I'm kidding. Not that often
Okay.
because not a lot of people know about the movie.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think people always would rather focus on like the more popular stuff, but every once in a while, Best Men comes up.
Right.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. So I went to college up in Buffalo, and they had
Where'd you go?
Buffalo State University.
Okay. My
Yeah.
family went there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had like down the road a $2 movie theater. So it was like the first run movies that were out after like, a month or two, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was Best Man was there. And I'm like, all right, cool. The cast looks good, Crush on Drew, Barrymore,
Of course.
Patrick Flannery was great, and
Yep.
young Indiana Jones and whatnot. So
Yep.
like,
Of course.
sure, why not? And yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. It was it was a fun movie. You had a spoiler alert for I guess a movie 30 years from now, but you had a very
Right.
death scene in that movie too.
You know what? That was really, I had a lot of fun making that movie.
Yeah.
It was very different than anything I'd done before and probably since. Um, when we talk about my death, I think at that time, Drew was dating, um, Luke Wilson,
Okay.
who was like the lead in the movie. He and Drew were the two leads in the movie, the main characters. Well, we were all leads, but so the story focuses on them. They were dating, and we did one scene like when I'm on the bus and I'm about to walk off the bus, and I give my speech, my big poignant speech, and I walk off the bus. And I said to the director, I was like, and I said to Drew, I took her aside, I was like, I think I'd like to kiss you before I get off the bus. Just because it's like something I think he probably always wanted to do, and I think it would just be very. She said, absolutely. So no one knew except for me, Drew, and the director.
Okay.
And Luke was watching, we're in the scene together, and we're doing the thing, and I'm about to walk off the bus, and I just grab her by the waist and I plant one on her, and she's like, oh, and I pull her away. I was like, I've always wanted to do that. And I look at Luke, and he's like, the look on his face, and you could see they left it in the movie.
Yeah.
You look at the look on his face, like, did you just really do that? And that was great. And I'm a little pissed, but that was great. The look on his face was classic. And I just got off that bus, and Drew was laughing and I was laughing and Luke was laughing afterwards. But he was like, at the time, was like, what the hell just happened? What was that? I was like, I thought it would work.
Yeah.
And we ended up leaving. They left it in the movie, which I thought was really cool too. But the look on his face right before I step off that bus and head to the heavens. Yeah. So that's not that you were asking, but that is my great memory of that movie.
No, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. And it's, and plus anything Fred Ward is in is fantastic. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I love that guy.
And Raymond Barry too. I mean,
played the FBI guy.
And I just saw him. What was I watching?
He's on Justified. He was on Justified.
Justified. Okay, yeah. So I saw a clip from Justified.
Yeah.
Because now I have to go watch a series. I haven't watched it yet. I've been some.
Fantastic.
I hear it's great. I've been watching Bosch. Like I obsessively watch
that. Yeah.
Oh, Bosch is so good. So I binge watched Bosch 7 seasons, and then the 2 for Bosch Legacy. So 9 seasons I just consumed. And then it's like I'm looking for my next thing, and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, they're like, I think you like Justified. So I have to watch that. And I started watching clips on YouTube, and there he was.
Yeah.
There was Ray Barry. It's like, oh boy, I have to watch this. Was he a regular on the show?
Yeah, he played Timothy Oliphant's father. So he's
right. Yeah, I kind of
He's in a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have to watch that. It looks really good. The stories look so good.
It's so good. Plus, why am I drawing a blank? Walter Goggins, who was fantastic in the show. He's great too.
Yes, he's good in everything too.
Yeah, and the revival they did last year is really good too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So yeah,
I have to watch this. Yeah, that's gonna be how many seasons was it on for? Do you know?
I think it was 5, but it's like
5 or 6.
Yeah, like 10, 13 episodes, and then the revival I think was maybe 6 to 8.
I love that. Okay, I'm all over it. That'll be my next thing.
Yeah,
That'll be
but
my next thing.
the short stories are good too in the books that were made about it because they're based on books, and it's the
Okay.
books are really good too.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want to take up much more of your time. This was fantastic, Mitchell. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me and talking not just about the business, but collectibles and the joy. Because you know what these all things all have in common? These collectible toys, the movies, the TV shows, these are things that give us joy.
Yeah,
And that's the one thing that they all share. And especially we talk about how difficult these times are right now. I look for the things and I gravitate toward the things that give me joy. So talking to you about this stuff, talking about the movies or TV shows that I know have given other people joy. And I enjoy talking about them too, because it brings me back. It's very different when an actor sees something. Your mind instantly goes back to when you shot it. Oh, I remember when we were doing here and I remember what happened. So there's a lot of nostalgia for me to get to talk about it and to share little inside things that people that watch this stuff may not know about and may make them watch it a little bit differently. So I appreciate you taking the time to have me because I enjoy sharing this stuff. It's a lot of fun for me too.
and special thanks to Mitchell for joining me today. And if anyone can find a Nick Fury hot toy, send me the link via Facebook at the Reliving My Youth page, as well as X, formerly Twitter, at the First Noel 19. Go to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we've had. While you're there, please rate and review the show. Don't have iTunes? Not a problem. Show's on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, basically wherever you can find a new podcast. A new episode comes out every week. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you then.